Well, guys, I think my job is pretty safe from AI because it gives some of the worst dating advice out there to men. And if you decide you want to try to follow dating advice from Chat GPT, chances are it's going to steer you in the wrong direction. So there's a guy on Reddit that wrote a question and he's trying to deal with this girl that he used to date. They started reconnecting and talking, and they're in the early phases. And so he asked ChatGPT how he should handle the texting situation and what he should send to her to inquire about if the way that he's texting is good or not. And I want to get into that because, in today's landscape, obviously AI is taking over a lot of stuff. And I have been testing out answers that ChatGPT will give if you ask it a dating question. And I have found that most of the advice it's trying to give that's geared towards men is actually stuff that I teach against and stuff that I've actually done in the past that did not work. So we'll get into this guy's message first, and then we'll get into the whole ChatGPT of it all. So this guy said, my ex and I broke up 4 months ago after dating for 2 years. We've been talking again for the past 3 weeks. Nothing is heavy, just casual check ins and some shared memes. It feels good, but I'm constantly second guessing how much is too much. Right now, I'm texting her maybe every other day or so. Sometimes she initiates, sometimes I do. The conversations are pretty natural, but I don't want to seem clingy or like I'm trying to force something. Well, right now, I can't tell if this guy's trying to text her in an attempt to get back with her or just to be friends, because depending on the direction he's going, then I would give two different answers, which I'll get to in a second. He says, I asked ChatGPT for advice and it suggested I send her something like, hey, I know we're taking things slow, but I really value these conversations we've been having. I don't want to overwhelm you, so let me know if I'm texting too much. He says, that sounds super awkward to me. Like, who actually says that? It feels way too formal and overthinking it. Well, that's one of the big reasons that ChatGPT is not great at this stuff is because it's going to tell you to say things in a way that oftentimes are a bit too formal and not natural to the way that people sound when they're actually speaking. He says, I'm trying to figure out the right balance. I want to stay connected and rebuild our friendship, but I also don't want to come across as desperate or like I'm trying to push for more than she's ready for. What frequency of texting would you recommend during this reconnection phase? How do I gauge if I'm being too much without directly asking her? So again, the answer to this really depends on the direction he's going. So I wrote a comment in there and I said, basically, if you're just trying to be friends with her, then just keep doing what you're doing. But I also have, female friends that I might text once or twice a week, and we've had solid friendships for 15, 16 years now. And so you're keeping it in the friendship realm, then those kind of things don't matter. I said, but if you're trying to work your way back into being with this girl in a relationship, then the actual best mode of operandi is to not initiate text as much and to wait for her to do more of the initiating, because you got to understand what's going to happen. She's going to start texting this guy more, and eventually subconsciously her brain's going to be like, I seem to be the one to reach out like all the time. Why am I reaching out so much? It must be because I still really care about this guy. I should explore that. And that's a conclusion that women have to come to on their own. It can't be a thing that is forced upon them, and it's not going to happen by you setting up a consistent schedule to constantly text her in hopes that if you do that enough, she'll realize, oh, hey, I think this guy likes me still. Maybe I should do something. Now, what's interesting is he said the part, where did he say about, he doesn't want to cause overwhelm, right? And so that signals to me that he's a guy that still actually wants to win her back. And oftentimes, the things that you need to be doing in order to get the successes with women that you want is going to be the opposite of what you think works logically. Like, he's thinking logically, if I want to get her back, I should be texting her more to where she'll realize that I like her again and want to do some stuff. And what I have found in my personal dating relationship history is that if I wanted a woman back, getting her back was as simple as letting, like, reconnecting, but then letting her be the one to reach out to me. Time and time again, I had this happen where, like, I know this one girl I dated, we dated for like a year and then we broke up. And then it's inevitably she reached out to me to hang out again. We hung out for a little bit, and I was kind of wanting to be in a relationship again. And she was like, no, no, we're just friends. I said, okay, hey, cool, no problem. And I backed off. I stopped asking her over. I stopped reaching out to her over text, and I started dating other women. And lo and behold, she started reaching out more. She suddenly wanted to meet up for dates. She wanted to hook up. And then, yeah, we had ended up back dating for a while. And all that happened because I knew if I leave it be, she'll come to me. Now, I also tested out a time where I was seeing this girl that I had previously talked to before, but it was like longer distance. And like for that first month, we were texting each other every day, calling each other every day. We saw each other a couple of times out that month because I had to travel out to near where she lived. And then she was doing a trip overseas that made her have a layover here. Talked every single day for a month. And at the end of that month, burnout, you start saying things unintentionally that like are jokey, but like she takes it a certain way or vice versa, or she just gets tired of picking up, you know? And so I tested those things enough to know that you as the guy reaching out a lot is typically not going to be in your favor, right? Now, but he's getting his advice right now from Chat GPT, and Chat GPT is saying he needs to reach out and say, hey, I know we're taking things slow, but I really value these conversations we've been having. I don't want to overwhelm you, so let me know if I'm texting too much. When in the history of forever has a guy ever been able to say to a woman, hey, if I'm doing too much of a thing, let me know, and the woman actually let a guy know? Like, you could be like, hey, if I'm seeing you too much, calling you too much, if I'm being too needy, if whatever, just let me know. No woman's going to come to you and say, hey, you told me to come to you if I noticed that something was bugging me, and so this is what's bugging me, because that is not behavior early on that women want to do. Women, more often than not, aren't trying to have that kind of conflict with the guy that they just started dating. And so instead, they'll just slow down the communication, ghost you, or leave you altogether because they'd rather do that than have to actually face you in a conflict. But this is a small example of why it is that ChatGPT ultimately is not a good place to go for dating advice, because it is an unemotional mechanic. All right. Understand that all of these various entities, these AI entities, they are still ultimately programmed by humans, right? And humans, like anybody else, have flaws, and they don't have the depth of experience of everything, right? So you got to imagine people that are programming AI, a lot of them probably don't have a lot of great dating experience. And so what they're going to do with AI is they're going to program it to say whatever they feel is the most generic version of advice they can give that's not going to offend the masses. Because you got to think about like, red pill ideologies and like books like The Game and other pickup artist things. Like these are things, for example, that are very much rejected, or at least on the public surface, rejected by the mainstream, right? Like the whole idea of like, oh, guys follow red pill ideology and all these other things, and they're tricksters and this and that. It's all stuff that's basically based on the fact that a bunch of guys shared intel and said, hey, I did this thing and it didn't work, and I did this thing and it did work. And sometimes in dating, the things that work don't sound, public facing wise, don't sound very good. Like they just don't. They sound like you're trying to trick people, you're trying to manipulate them, also this stuff. And lo and behold, at the same time, the things that are taught in those spaces are things that they have discovered women actually like in terms of how they get attracted to men, right? So I'm going to give you a small example of that. So I went into Chat GPT and I said to it, how often should I text a girl when I'm getting to know her, right? I'm gonna give you the response that it gave, and I'm gonna give you the outline that it gave me for how to set up a texting schedule. So first it said, when you're getting to know a girl, the frequency of texting should match two things: her pace of response and the natural rhythm of your connection. Here's how I break it down. So it says the early stages, the first week or two, a few texts a day is plenty. Think sending a good morning text and maybe one conversation thread in the evening. Keep it light, short, and positive. Now, if you're meeting a girl online, I totally get why you would text her, because the idea is you're trying to get her off the app, right? But this idea of like you automatically go into sending good morning text and you automatically start trying to send like text threads that are going to be allow you to have like a deeper conversation with her early on. I personally found that was not what was working, especially the idea that you should automatically start sending good morning texts. That is automatically signaling that you're already thinking seriously about this person, to where you're willing to set up your schedule already to text her a consistent thing every day. and you don't know her yet. And I stress that because that's what women are thinking is, why is he already sending me to a schedule to text him as if we're already together? I don't know him yet. What have I done to earn this? And I keep telling you guys, you need to give women things for them to earn in the process of developing their attraction for you. If you just give it to them, then you're going to find that they typically fall off a lot faster. But again, that is an example of an experience that an AI or ChatGPT is not going to have in its arsenal and know to tell you. Then it says, when things click, if she's engaging, respond quickly and initiating sometimes. You can mirror that. Some days may be more chatty, some days quieter. The key is not forcing it. So this part where it says like, if she's engaging, respond quickly. I have found just in my dating travels that if she initiates a text, sometimes just waiting 20 minutes before you respond to her for that first text is all it's going to take to have her sit there and wonder, he's not responding back. Did he lose interest in me? What's going on? I don't know what he's doing or what's going on right now. Like that little bit of mystery can only help to ante up her anticipation of hearing from you, which builds attraction. And a lot of times, ChatGPT is not going to tell you, hey, don't text back right away. Hey, maybe make her wait a little bit, be a bit more patient, see what that does in terms of being a mystery and intriguing guy. Like, it's not going to have that intel. And the people that are programming it probably also don't have that intel, but we don't know how great with women they are. For all we know, they could be all a bunch of unmarried dudes, or they could be dudes that are great, but you're not going to know either way. I just know from my personal experience, and a lot of other coaches will say this also, that constantly being on the phone and constantly being able to respond right away doesn't always put you in a positive light, or at least as much as one as you think you're going to be in. Then it says, it does say, big mistake guys make, texting constantly as if the phone is the relationship. Over texting tends to kill attraction. It removes mystery and makes you look like you don't have much else going on. Rule of thumb, leave for wanting more, not less. Ideally, texting is a bridge to seeing each other in person, not the main event. So here's the thing. In these three bullet points right here, right? It's given some lousy advice and it's also given some really good advice, right? The problem is you as a guy trying to go to AI for the first time who has limited dating experience isn't going to know which of these things is bad advice and which of these things is good advice. To hear it on ChatGPT, you're going to assume everything it said is gospel and true and that you should follow it. And some of it sounds great, but a lot of it's going to actually end up making women have less attraction for you. And I can say that based on personal experience and going through several years of dating different types of women across the globe, you know? So then decided to give me a sample cadence, right? So here's what it said. It said stage one, after getting her number. So we're going to assume if you got a number, you probably got it either at a party or maybe you met her online and you said, hey, send me your number, right? Guys always think, by the way, at the point that you get the number, that you need to go into this whole building rapport thing. So this one says, stage one, the first 24 hours, you need to send a light, fun opener. Hey, it's me, so and so. I still think you cheated me at trivia last night. So we're assuming that they met at a trivia night and he got the number. Okay, great. So sends that text. Then for the next 2 or 3 days, it says text once per day max. Keep it short, light, and playful. Don't get heavy. And the goal is to create momentum towards setting a date, not a text buddy situation. So in theory, that sounds good. In practice, I have found this is again based on my personal experience and also my experience of interviewing other women about this stuff where they'll give a guy a number. What they typically don't like is when they give you the number and you use it as an excuse to just talk to them for the next couple of days. Like most women I've talked to and most women I've gone out with have said, I don't like it when I give a guy the number and all he wants to do is text. If they're giving you the number, guy, that's already the signal to say from them to say, hey, I like you enough to spend more time with you. Ask me on a date. So that first text could be like, hey, it's so and so. Great meeting you the other night. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I thought we could meet up later this week. You could literally, within the first two messages, be asking for a date. And what ChatGPT is telling you is, no, 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 no. You need to make sure she's more comfortable with you. In this scenario that ChatGPT set up, right? You've already met the girl. She clearly gave you the number at the end of the hangout of the trivia night, which means she's already built enough comfort. You don't have to go home and get on the phone and then build more comfort. She's already got enough comfort to establish with you to where she's giving you the number. At that point, that's saying, I'm open game. Go ahead and reach out to me and let's do this some more. So as you get on there and just try to talk and talk and talk, you are wasting her time And she started to think he's not as bold and daring of a guy as I thought he was because I thought by giving him the number, he would just reach out and ask for a date. And he's clearly delaying that. What's going on? Maybe he's not as confident as I thought. And you can actually lose a woman over those 2 to 3 days by simply just talking to her on the phone. Like she doesn't want to be trapped in a text conversation with the guy she just met. She wants to go out with that guy to see if there's more chemistry there so she can start building up attraction, not trying to talk to a phone because digital bonding is way less effective than you actually being in person with her. So then it says stage two, leading up to the first date. Now you're going to send 1 to 2 texts per day, enough to keep the vibe warm, not enough to feel clean. So understand, like, the guys have this thought that, like, at the point they attract a woman, if they're not constantly in her face, they're not going to keep her feelings for him warm. And I can assure you, you'll be fine. Like, if a woman already has a budding interest in you and she's giving you the number, that means that she wants you to ask her out. She will happily respond to you at the point that you probably do reach out to her. And also, if it takes you a week or 2 weeks to reach out for that first date, as long as when you first text her, you're talking about trying to take her out, then she'll be totally fine. I've literally had it where I've gone days to years with women whose numbers I had, and I waited to contact them. And as soon as I did, they were ready to go out. So again, for personal experience, you thinking you got to send consistent text every single day to keep her attraction, women that like you and have a huge interest in you, you don't have to do that. But you can burn the interest off by thinking you got to get on a predictable schedule. And that's the thing, too. I said to the other guy that you being predictable in your text is going to be boring and monotonous, and it's not going to leave any mystery. And that is also something that can kill off the vibe for a woman. It says sprinkle in small teases or inside jokes from when you first met. Ideally, realistically, there's not going to be a whole lot of inside jokes when you first meet a person. I mean, you can reference back to something here or there, but again, the goal of hitting her up is to get the date. It's not to try to have a jokey rapport or remember when we had that conversation? No, you should be working on trying to create new conversations on new dates. Then it says logistic text. Okay, so then it says logistic text. 1 to 2 days before, confirm the date. Quote, we're still on for Saturday, right? So much wrong with that. So I teach you guys on here at the point that you actually set up a date. On that phone call that you're making, you set the date up. You say, great. So just to reconfirm, I'm going to see you on Tuesday. I'm going to see you in this case, Saturday. I'm going to, even though you shouldn't be asking, that's another thing too. You shouldn't be asking women out on Fridays and Saturdays for those first dates. Those are serious couple days. And when you do that, you're subconsciously telling her, I already see you as a person I'm in a relationship with. So we keep it Sunday through Thursdays. Again, that's stuff that has worked for me consistently. And that's why I give it to you guys. Chat GPT doesn't have that intel. So it's going to say, yeah, you should ask her out for a Friday and Saturday. You don't do those days because those are the days that she has free hours the next day to where she can't give the excuse of, I got to go to work the next day. And she doesn't know you enough yet to know if she wants to give up all that free time to spend with you. But anyway, so yeah, but in terms of doing a follow-up text, you do all the following up on the phone when you say just to reconfirm, it's Saturday night at 8 o'clock. Unless something happens and you don't, unless something happens cataclysmically, then I will see you at that time and that place, right? And you do this early on to establish with her that you're a man of your word and that the things you say are the things that you follow through on. So what you don't do is reach out later and say, hey, so I just want to make sure that we're still on for the date because one, I think it's an indication to her that you thought she was going to cancel. And also, it makes you look like a non-confident guy. It makes you look like you just had nothing else going on and that this has to happen and that you weren't sure if you were even worthy of her wanting to keep her word. Especially when you ask us a question, we're still on for Saturday, right? Like that puts you in a weaker frame. And at that point, I've literally had it where I had a guaranteed date set up and I would call to reconfirm or text, and they'd be like, oh, sure, yeah, it's still on. Cut to a couple hours later, hey, so something came up. On the other hand, I had women I asked out that I could tell didn't necessarily want to like, they didn't see me in that light. Like, let's say it was like a former female friend of mine, and I was like, hey, we should go on a date and see what's what. And they'd be like, I don't know. Oh my God. And even then, I knew not to reach out to them to ask if it was going to happen. And sure enough, a few minutes before the date, they're hitting me up. Hey, are we still doing the date? Why? Because when you're a confident guy that you know that you're the business, you don't send out needy, desperate calls or texts like this that indicate that you actually aren't as confident as you were giving off to her initially, right? So yeah, again, ChatGPT's not going to have that intel, so it's going to tell you just as a courteous thing, you definitely should reach out to her and definitely let her know that you're hoping the date's still going to happen. It puts you in a weak position. And then it says stage 3 between the first and third date. Every other day, you should be texting her. Keep it varied. Some days, no text. Other days, short back and forths. Be the one to end the convo sometimes. That keeps you from drifting into endless texting. And then after multiple dates, it says your text rhythm should mirror her. If she texts every day, then you can match it. If she takes a day or two, don't panic. Just mirror that. But here's the thing again. So it's basically telling you in between dates, you should be texting every other day. And I teach you guys when you first start dating a woman, you take her out, you show her a good time, and then you leave her alone for 4 days, meaning you don't initiate text. If she happens to reach out, that's great. You know, she'll probably reach out at the end of that first date and be like, "Hey, just want you to know I had a good time." And by the way, that'll happen if you're not a guy that's trying to send after date text. I had it happen frequently, right? And so you'll learn that not texting her is going to actually make her think about you more and wonder what you're up to. And it's going to cause her to talk to her girlfriends more about you and if you like her and if she likes you and what this means and all this other stuff. And those are conversations and exercises that women need to be doing in order to build attraction to you faster versus if they're hearing from you every day, it can delay her building up feelings for you. But again, I'm telling you this based on personal experience, and I'm married now, and all the stuff that I tell you guys to do, I did with the woman I'm married to now and other women that I dated. Like, so again, I have enough intel on that. ChatGPT as a technological advancement is not going to have that experience. So it's going to say stuff that publicly has been decided sounds good on paper, but may not actually work in your day-to-day dating life, okay? And so I'm not saying I'm always perfect or I have all the answers, but I'm saying I'm batting like 95 to 97% in terms of the stuff that I talk about with you guys. So ChatGPT is on the losing end of that. So that's why you should not be going to these technological things to ask for advice because it's going to give you stuff that on paper sounds good, but is probably not going to be as helpful to you in real life as you would expect. So all that said, if you actually want real help, hey, you can go to my YouTube and watch all my free videos. I got a couple of free ebooks at the website. If you need more than that, you can sign up for one-on-one coaching. And you can also sign up for my Get Girls Academy, which has all of my various video and audio programs that are designed to give you real, authentic advice based on my experience. You can experience that for yourself at HarryWilmington.com. That's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for watching this video. If you want a question answered on one of these shows, you can write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. And again, you can also join up the Get Girls Academy to get consistent email responses from me as well. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.